Hey everybody, how's it going? We're going to do a little quick tip video tonight. I was this quick tip about optimizing your print times by tweaking a couple of features when you're going through your slicing preview and sort of really just sort of looking through the preview, understanding what's happening in the travel moves and your retraction moves, and then knowing where a couple of features are that you can sort of tweak and tune on a per model basis to improve your print times. So I've been working on this little loot crate, this little PUBG loot crate. So I designed it in Fusion, brought it in, and wanted to print one out and have it on the desk at the office. And so and it's small, right? You can see here it's small. It's 50 by 50 by 50. It's a couple inches cubed. Not a very big print. So my idea was this probably 3-4 hour print tops, because I print conservatively speed wise. But when I sliced it, I noticed a problem, and so I'll slice it for you, and we'll see. And this is just using one of my standard profiles that I kind of use day in, day out type of thing. And I noticed this long time, so 5 hours and 42 minutes. And on this simple little print, that smells funky. So what you want to do here is go into the preview. And if you're not using preview, you should be. Now, lots of times, and what I understand is people go into the preview, and then they're just sort of simply look at the model here, which is what what you would normally do, and you sort of scan up and down and just make sure that your print is going to look okay at the end. And by all means, this looks fine. I don't see any issues here. It's going to print beautifully. But you get a couple of little telltales in here that can tell you a little bit different story. So what we want to do is uncheck this, no travel moves. We want to see travel moves. And then I also like to see retractions. So as we now start going through this, we start seeing a different story. So all these blue lines in here, blue lines are travel moves. So travel moves is literally the nozzle moving around the model. That is not printing. There's no printing happening while the nozzle is traveling, right? So a travel move is different than a printing move. It is not extruding any filament in those travel moves. So you can see here, you've got lots and lots of blue. It's just running around this thing like a racetrack. It's jumping back and forth between features. So there was a lot of excess movement in this particular print based on the profile I was using. The other telltale you have in here are all these little X's are retraction moves. So X's are retraction. So it's retracting inside the model on these inner layers, not on the outside walls, but on the inside walls. And that's telling too here, and I'll show you why in a minute. So we've got two issues. We've got lots of retraction, and we got lots of travel moves, excess. So so that's what's causing this almost 6 hour print, 5 hours 42 minutes. Remember that, 5:42, because we're going to see a big improvement here, and I'll show you the end result of all this. Now you wouldn't think, sorry, I'm jumping around. This is one layer we're talking about, right? This is just one layer we're looking at. This is tons and tons of travel moves. This is lots of retractions. So when you add up these little micro moves that maybe are only a second or two for each layer, but you add that up over the entire print, even a print that's small like this, you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of extra movement and seconds that are going to be added to the print, which can literally translate into hours. So here's the two things we're going to do to go solve this. So I'm going to close this down. We're going to go right back into the same slice, the same profile I was using. I just made a copy of one of my standard ones. We're going to go to the advanced button, and there are two tabs and really two features that you can look at to sort of curb this if you're having this problem. So if you go to your ooze tab, the first one here is this. So I do not have avoid retraction inside models checked. So not being checked, it is retracting inside the model. So every time it comes up to a new feature, if it's inside the model, right, we're not talking about an outside wall, right? Because both on that, I've got an inside wall, which is really a cosmetic wall, so it's an outside wall. And then I have the real outside wall. Both of those are cosmetic surfaces. What this is talking about is inside the model. So any pass inside, any of my layers inside those models is where the retractions are happening. So the software does that in an attempt to keep any of those layer moves and shifts and retractions hidden in between your cosmetic surfaces. So it's great at doing that. It's doing it a lot in this case. So for this particular model, I don't need all that retraction. There are some models where I do need it, and this one I don't. So we're going to click this avoid retraction inside models. I'm also going to enable retraction at the bottom layers, and that just helps with oozing and scarring and stuff like that. And then the second tab is the other tab, and I have, in general, for a couple of the models I print, this fill gaps and shells turned on. I've got small features in some of the models I print, and I need that sort of single pass of the nozzle, the single extrusion width to fill in those gaps, and it does that for a very specific reason, to fill those gaps. So that's what it's trying to do here, is it is seeing gaps inside my walls, and it's trying to fill them all up with filament, because that's what the software, I've told the software to do in this case, but that's adding the excess travel movements in this case. So we're going to turn that off because it's not needed for this. So you just uncheck, and then we're going to go OK, and we're going to save and close, and we're going to reslice this sucker. And 3 hours and 9 minutes. So remember, the first one was 5 hours and 42 minutes. Now it's 3 hours and 9 minutes. So let's go look at the preview and turn on those same telltales, and let's see what the real story is now. And there is a side effect to turning off a couple of these features, and as long as you know about it and you're okay with it, move forward, and I'll show you what those are. So again, we're going to uncheck that, and we're going to say show retractions. And we're just going to start scrolling through a couple layers here and see what the story is. So there you go. Much less travel, right? It's traveling around. It's not running around like a NASCAR race, loop-de-loop, over and over again. It's not jumping back and forth between features. And you see no X's. The only X's are going to be on this on an outside corner where I've told it I want my Z-seam on a convex corner. So it's going to be retracting wherever it determines that convex corner is in relationship to the nozzle. So that's why you get that such a big time reduction in the print. So again, 5 hours 42 minutes, avoid retraction inside model, and turning off that filling gaps and shells. So that's 2.5 hours on a relatively small and short print. That's a pretty big time savings. Now, the side effect, like I said, is this. When I turned off the fill gaps and shells, I know that my wall width here is only about 2 millimeters, and my nozzle is 0.6. So if you do 3 walls with a 0.6 nozzle, you're at 1.8 millimeters. So I'm going to have a gap of about 0.2 millimeters left over, and I'm okay with that. It's inside the model. Look, it's inside my walls. I don't care. No one's going to see that. Not a big deal. It doesn't affect the fit, form, or function of this print at all. And even at the very, very top, you know, again, I'll have a little gap right at the top lip, and I'm not so worried about it because with a loot crate and PUBG, you get a cover that goes over the top of it. You're almost never going to see it, and that gap is almost imperceivable anyway, and I've got pictures to show. So I did go ahead and print this just to do some proof. So let's look at some pictures here. So this is about midway print, halfway up. So you can see the walls look really good. There's not a lot of excess layer shifting or any garbage. The walls are really smooth, actually, if I do say so myself. And here is the gap that was showing up in the slice, right down the middle. There's the gap. And so if we scroll forward a little bit, there's the gap again. Yeah, bad picture. So there's the finished product. So there's the gap right around the top. But overall, this print came out silky smooth. I'm really pleased with it. And here is the finished version. I went and grabbed some blue felt and some stretchy elastic. I put those on, so I've got my nice little PUBG loot crate. So there you go. Saves you time. A little quick tip for you. If you have questions, I'll leave comments on. We'll do it that way. Again, you know, this is not going to work for every single model you have. This is more of a smell test type of thing, where if you've got a print that like this one is super simple, right? It's a box. It's a box, and I know it should not have taken 6 hours. And so that in and of itself, just to have some prints under your belt and to smell something fishy, now you have a little bit of knowledge on what to go look at and tweaking those two things in the preview to tell you what the story is as far as travel moves and retraction. So there you go. I hope that helps you. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll do another video soon. See ya.